You know, guys, I was asked to make a video about mental health. And, it's no secret, guys. I'm prior service, proud vet. Did my time. I served my country. Been over to Iraq. And I suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. It could be very crippling if you don't understand exactly what's going on mentally. For me, when I first got out of the military, it was one of those things where I didn't know what was going on, but the people around me seen, what was going on, and with all that being said, my grandfather, I'll never forget it. When I came home, when I first got out, when I first processed out, the soldier rating center, clean for a hood, and they, you go to your debrief and you got a checklist you have to do, right? From CIF, turn in your equipment, your tape, all that, all the way down to the VA rep. That's in there. That's the last thing you do. You see a VA rep, and then you get your DD form 214 and your DD form 256. Your certificate that tells you you're discharged from the military, and which is this right here. Tell you you're discharged from the military, and then your DD form 214, which is in my other file. It is put up, but bottom line is, you get all that, you get out, and you go on, you get into the VA system, you roll in the VA system, and you start your life as a veteran. It's a hybrid. You're not a civilian, you're a veteran. You served your country, right? Well, after about a year after I got out, but before that, my grandfather told me, he said, son, because he's a Vietnam vet, two-tour, right? He said, son, because I moved in with him until I got my own place, me and my wife at the time, and he said, son, if you get angry, right, let someone know. Now, I remember looking at my grandfather, I'm like, what do you mean? Like everybody gets angry. Like, what do you mean? My wife, I know I said at the time she's still my wife behind me. Good Lord, 16 years. My wife told me, I was having nightmares and all that. And, at the time, you strung them off, talking in my sleep and stuff like that. And then I remember one day, my grandfather heard me having a nightmare, but he didn't wake me up. And he told me this after I got diagnosed with post-traumatic stress, because he went through it too. And I remember being a young kid, my grandpa would snap and go off. He would go on these cursing tirades. He would say all type of crazy shit. And as a kid, you're laughing because it's the funniest thing in the world to hear your grandpa go off in the store like, you motherfuckers didn't give a flying fuck about none of the Vietnam vets. Like I say, you're 9, 10 years old and you don't know what's going on at that time. You just chuckle, right? And I always wonder why he would sleep on the couch, on his back, ready to get up in the prone position. He always slept the same way every night. He was a Marine, so, they sleep on their backs, and even in the Army, they teach you how to be able to get up out of your sleep in order to defend yourself. So he always slept that same posture. And he had a gun near him at all times, or a knife. He always had a weapon within his reach at all times at night. Now, I always thought that was weird. And then later on down the line, I started developing some of the same characteristics. And I didn't really pick up on it, When asked, do I get mad? I always shut it off like people get mad, And then I started to have anger issues. I would never take the same way home. If I see certain things in the street, like in Iraq, you had to clear culverts and stuff like that because they would put IEDs under them, pressure plated IEDs and stuff of that nature, that the jammers couldn't jam. We had the jammers on the Humvees. So, if you drive over something that looks out of place, it could be an IED. A lot of times they would hide them in the culverts and shit underneath the roads, or even on side, like the storm drains and stuff, right? So I would get paranoid about that. And to this day, depending on the size of the culvert, I still do. And at that time, I remember I worked at Waterbury. This is a true story. I worked at Waterbury in my hometown. And I'll never forget one of my good schoolmates came in, and I haven't seen this guy in years. It was like a good brother of mine, and he still is, right? And we hugged and everything. I was happy to see him, and a lot of people didn't know I was home. And I remember I told my manager at the time that, hey, I didn't want a lot of people to know that I had served in Iraq and all that. You know, I just want to do my job, get a check, go home, you know. And I remember him surprised to see me interact and talk. I remember him asking, hey, do you know this guy? And my friend said, yeah, I went to school together, blah, 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 you know. And I heard my manager say, man, he just got back from the combat zone. And my manager at the time didn't know I was working too, part-time as substitute teacher and at the county jail. So I always stayed busy, right? Because I wasn't making that type of money no more. So you had to try to make up. And I'm married and all that shit. And so I remember him saying that, and I'm on a fry machine, right? So, you know, you dip your fries into the hot grease, and then you got your fry salt beside it, right? And I remember something in me just went click. And I remember the fries ding, they stopped, and I picked the basket up out of the hot grease and I slung it on the manager. And long story short, you know, I walked out. Of course, they called the cops or whatever, and I remember. I put it to you this way: my grandpa got me and said, "Grandboy, get your shit, let's go." And my wife was like, "What the fuck is going on?" You know, blah blah. Grandpa said, "I'm taking his ass to Temple, to the motherfucking VA." We go to Temple. I remember talking to a representative at Temple, asked me a lot of questions, nightmare, sleep. You know, guys like me, you don't want to admit that you're having an issue with your mental health. So I wouldn't know all the questions. And the next thing I know, I was heading to Waco to a post-traumatic stress program. And I got diagnosed with post-traumatic stress after a lot of tests and stuff of that nature, and, you know, family accounts, and of course what happened at the job and all that. They gave me combat-related post-traumatic stress, and I to this day I'm not as ashamed as I used to be, because people they would put a label on you. But pretty much post-traumatic stress is just that. It's a mental disorder that occurs after a traumatizing event. That's hence the name post-traumatic. You witness an event, your nervous system freaks out, the fight, flight, or freeze response, the sympathetic nervous system freaks out, right? And then over time, it can be a week from the traumatizing event, it can be a year from the traumatizing event. But what happens is you start to develop symptoms from that event. And any little thing that can set off a trigger that reminded you of the event can bring about all of the feels of anxiety, hypervigilance, irritability, insomnia. It's a plethora of emotions that someone go through with post-traumatic stress. I always give an example, like the pendulum on a clock. I'm always kind of neutral. I'm numb to a lot of things, right? If the pendulum swings left one day, I might be the happiest motherfucker in the world. But then as sure as it swung left, it might violently swing right. Now I'm the most angriest motherfucker in the world. Just like that. Now that's normal behavior, but someone post-traumatic stress, they're not swinging back and forth like the normal pendulum. They're in the middle to a lot of things until the trigger happens, and then they go right. They go straight right. And they stay there for a long time until they get back to numbing out the emotions from the traumatizing event. But over time, that can cause a strain on your personal life, on your mental health. I still see a psychiatrist. I've been in the military now over 10 years, guys, and I still talk to a psychiatrist monthly. That's my time to decode and reassess and, you know, focus on things that I need to do to stay the course. The biggest fear, once you cope with post-traumatic stress, the rule of thumb is to accept that you have it, and then go through the cognitive therapy, be re-exposed to, some of us have multiple traumas. For me, it's combat, so it was just more than one incident. And now, you know, COVID and watching loved ones die in front of you, that rips the scab off a lot of things, right? So my therapy has been ramping up since COVID, but they'll put you on meds and all that, but you still have to do the work up here. So you have to find a support system, an outlet, something that will help you put your mind at rest. Because for someone that's suffering from post-traumatic stress, and you can always tell a fake from a phony, they always try to stay as busy as possible. They don't want to be bored. They don't want their minds to linger. A docile mind is a bad mind for someone with post-traumatic stress. An idle mind, I'm going to use the term, is a dangerous mind. Because someone that has post-traumatic stress, it don't take a lot to amp them up. It don't take a lot. And so for me, I have to stay busy. If something is off and I'm not busy that day, I'm irritated, I'm mad, I'm frustrated, I want to keep my mind going. I just want to keep it going, because you're going to always have those thoughts that occur. You may see something on TV that will trigger you. Anniversary dates from the dates of the traumas. Even though you try not to think about them, the body just prepares you for them. So, you know, you have to watch those things. You have to watch those triggers, guys. And when they happen, you have to breathe and ground yourself and say, okay, what's causing this? Okay, let's assess. Why is this going on right now? And it's a lifelong struggle. It's a lifelong battle. If you drink alcohol to cope with post-traumatic stress like I used to do, my advice is get off the alcohol until you can get your post-traumatic stress under control, and even then be disciplined with the alcohol. There's no need to drink it when you're mad, because when the alcohol wears off, you didn't address the problem. I always think about relapsing, doing something that might cause all my therapy to unravel, okay? And post-traumatic stress isn't just for combat guys. It's for guys who go to the penitentiary, guys that grew up in the streets. It just take one traumatizing event. Your friend goes to school in the morning, right? And the day that friend got shot and killed at school. You might not went to school, but you were close to that friend. Then you start hearing stories about what happened to that friend. Now, this is where they say sensitive people can develop post-traumatic stress. That's not chronic. That's usually acute post-traumatic stress. But, you know, it was someone they cared about, someone they love. And so they get traumatized. And the moment they hear a shot, they may think about their friend, what happened to their fucking friend, and all this shit. And then they get all wonky and wear out. The nervous system is a motherfucker. That's why you have to train your brain. My advice to anyone that's from post-traumatic stress is to find an outlet. You know, because there's no cure for it. You're going to have it for the rest of your life. You learn to cope, adapt, and live with it. But you're going to always have that fear of relapsing. Now, guys that act like they have post-traumatic stress, they're very blunt. They broadcast it all the time. They use it as an excuse to want to fight and blah, blah, blah. Those guys are faking the fun. Don't no one want to brag about having post-traumatic stress. I hate having this disorder. I hate it. You know, you never know when you might have a nightmare. So, you know, even now, every now and then I sleep here in my office on the couch. If I feel like I had a bad day, or even especially when anniversaries come around from my traumas, I don't want to put my wife in any danger or my kids. So I get to myself and I try to manage it on my own, because that's what it takes to overcome a lot of shit. It's no cure, but that is you taking your power back, if that makes sense. I'm gonna be on pills till the day I die. If you ain't seeing me, I just got a refill coming. I take them as needed. You know, I don't have to take them every day because I have kids. Some of the pills will make you drowsy as fuck. But you have to strengthen this. And that's why I got into health and fitness and stuff of that nature. I feel good when I train, dopamine rush and all that stuff. Another thing about post-traumatic stress, you guys know that have it, know what I'm talking about. You miss that thrill. You thrill seek a lot. You do a lot of things on edge. Like, for me, it's drag racing. I love racing the 5 hours. Why I supercharge it, right? I love speed. I love the adrenaline. I love putting myself in a situation to where it's I hate to say it's life or death. I like to live on the edge. And a lot of it came from my trauma, being in the combat zone. Now, everybody's not the same, but most people that's traumatized, they became traumatized because they seen a life and death experience. Or they was in between, they was on the edge or something. So they missed that thrill, they missed that rush. So you'll see some people, they put themselves in a situation to where they just have to feel that excitement, because that's the way that they think that they are living life now. They're on the edge all the time. My advice to anyone that suffers that type of emotion drive like I do is to find another outlet. For me, is training and working on cars. And yes, even though I supercharged my car, I had to stop street racing. I put myself at the drag strip now. I used to do a lot of street racing just because I want that, you know, that's not good. And you know, I don't advise anyone do that. Go to a drag strip where it's safe. Even though, yes, you're taking some of the elements of the uncertainty out, I'd rather you do something safe than to kill somebody else because you want to seek that thrill. It's kind of like skydiving, you know. You do it in a place where it's safe to where you won't fall and injure someone on the way down. Your parachute won't open up, you know. So, guys, you know, I can go on and on about post-traumatic stress and depression and stuff of that nature. If you guys have any more question about mental health, feel free. I'll make a video about it. I was gonna put this on my fitness channel, but since that channel is so small, this video is gonna be on my main channel. But I can tell you a lot about post-traumatic stress, hypervigilance, not sleeping. Guys, if you can't get any rest, that will keep the stress levels high, the cortisol level high, and that can keep your traumas and your triggers going because the brain is in overdrive. Now, in the military, they tell you need just 4 hours sleep, and that's true. Research shows that after those 2 sleep cycles, because you go through a sleep cycle every 90 minutes, right? You start off, you go through the REM, and you're back up top, right? Every 90 minutes. So you usually go to 2.5 sleep cycles. 90 is, let's see, 180, 3 hours. So almost 3 complete sleep cycles. And during that time, that's when the brain and the body tends to recover the most. So that's why in the military, they make you sleep for just 4 hours. Now, they don't do it all the time. It's not every day. But you get used to 4 hours and 4 hours. Well, when you're traumatized, 4 hours of sleep isn't enough to unwind and let some of the stress and the cortisol levels get back to normal. So those are pointers too. Relaxation helps a lot with post-traumatic stress. Recognizing your triggers and catching them before they get out of control is the key to living with post-traumatic stress and praying that you don't relapse or do something very bad to someone because you have post-traumatic stress. I always watch my 6. I always sit with my back against the wall. I look for X's all the time. I still do all those things. You combat guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Even when I went, you know, this year I was a season pass holder for the Falcons. I love football, so I wanted to treat myself this past season. I'm going this upcoming season. I purposely picked a seat way up in the rafters. I want to be sitting down low, right by the exit aisle seat. So if something happens, I can get the fuck out of there. You know what I mean? I didn't want to be on the front row. I wanted to be able to come down and get the fuck out. So, you know, I still take precautions, but you shouldn't let post-traumatic stress ruin your life. There's no cure for it. You're going to have your days. But my advice is find the outlets. Do something very passionate. Find another reason to want to live, because post-traumatic stress can kill you. It can. It can really send you into a very depressing state, and it can kill you. I'll tell you one more thing about me. Then I'm going to get up here. I got nicks on my arms, right? You really can't see them because of the light, but this arm especially has a lot of little nicks. Not so much my right arm. I've never been suicidal, but I had a lot of homicidal ideations. I would get so mad with people that I wanted to off them. And the way my mind went was, if you're an enemy of me, just like the warrior ethos, if you're an enemy to me, you're a target. I have to take you out. I will always place the mission first. I'll never set feet. I'll never quit. I'll never leave a fucking comrade, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, my job, when my mind went there from a soldier standpoint, if you were my enemy, you were a threat to my life, I need to eliminate you. That was the mission. You always place the mission first, and you would never accept defeat. You would never quit. And if you had a buddy that was military beside you, you would never leave a fallen comrade. That's the warrior ethos, right? So I had to eliminate your threat. So I realized when I got the military, I couldn't keep that mindset. So I would get so mad I would nick myself. I wouldn't cut myself deep, but I just wanted to nick myself to take the edge off. That's not healthy. And that should have been a wake-up call that something was going on psychologically in me. But if you find yourself doing that, go get help. It's not good to cut yourself, nick yourself, guys. I'm telling you this. I'm telling you. It's not good at all. Go get some fucking help, okay? So watch out for the alcohol abuse, the cutting, the thrill seeking, the homicidal and or suicide ideations, All those things, guys, you need to go talk to a psychiatrist about. And feel free on this video in the comment sections if you want more advice. I would love to give you advice because I'm all about health, especially mental health. And it hurts my heart when someone dies because they didn't get the right help to address their mental health. We all have problems. Everybody has a mental health issue, but for those of us that suffers with legit post-traumatic stress, it's a challenge. It's a challenge, and I know that challenge all too well. I've been dealing with it for over 10 years, 13 years to be exact. So I know it all too well. So you guys take care, and I'm out. Peace.